Protozoan parasites. Protozoa are microscopic organisms that move in their watering environments and belong to kingdom Protista. There are over 10,000 species of parasitic protozoa. Plasmodia, trypanosomes, leishmania, and toxoplasma are the most widespread protozoan parasites. They are responsible for many human diseases, including malaria, trichomoniasis, giardia, leishmaniasis, and amoebic dysentery. The immune responses to protozoa vary because they are a diverse group of organisms with diverse life cycles. Human bodies may kill them with antibodies, with cytotoxic T cells, or both. The most common protozoan parasites live inside host cells. Cytotoxic T cells are the effector cells that are used to kill intracellular protozoa. Like B cells, cytotoxic T cells require lymphokine help from the T helper cells to become activated. The next slide shows an adaptive immune response that leads to cytotoxic T cells killing the body cells, and that's the bad part. You lose cells, but you need that to kill the protozoan parasites within. Killer T cells recognize the foreign antigens on body cells and once activated release chemicals that form pores in the membranes and cause target cell lysis. And here's your target cell here. That's a cell that's been infected. And lysis means that the cell membrane is ruptured, which causes cell destruction. So if you'd like, pause this and just examine the various stages here. Protozoan parasites make people ill because they can evade immune responses in a variety of ways. Leishmania parasites infect macrophages and inhibit macrophage function. Infected macrophages cannot digest leishmania or present their antigens. Leishmaniasis causes skin lesions and/or liver damage. Trypanosomes mutate and change their surface antigens rapidly, staying ahead of the adaptive immune system. Trypanosomes cause sleeping sickness in Africa. Entamoeba histolytica shed their outer coats if they become coated with antibodies, so therefore they evade the ADCC process. Entamoeba causes ambiasis or dysentery in 10 to 20% of infected people. Malaria is the most widespread infectious disease in the world. It is caused by 4 different species of Plasmodia, which are protozoan parasites. Malaria infections are most serious in children under 5 and are a leading cause of death for children. So here's a picture. We've got our red blood cells and the Plasmodium falciparum right here. That is shown in the red blood cells. Malaria is spread by bites from the female Anopheles mosquito during blood meals. Infected mosquitoes transfer the parasite from one infected human and give it to another. Plasmodia have complicated life cycles compared to plants and animals. They have many different body types in the Anopheles mosquito digestive system, in the human liver, and in human red blood cells. After a mosquito bite puts P. falciparum into a person's bloodstream, it goes to the liver. It matures and multiplies and then infects the body's red blood cells. The red blood cells are destroyed when the parasites proliferate inside them, break out, and infect other red blood cells. The most serious symptoms of malaria are caused by capillary blockage by the infected and ruptured red blood cells and by loss of red blood cells, which are needed for carrying oxygen and carbon dioxide in the blood. Parasites outside of red blood cells are engulfed and digested by the phagocytic white blood cells of the innate immune system, but this may not clear the infection. An adaptive immune response that gives rise to antibodies is dominant during malaria. As with bacterial infections, this response involves antigen-presenting cells, APCs, T helper cells, and B cells which make antibodies. The antibodies, and we've already talked about this earlier, they coat the parasites this time, disrupt their life cycle, and make them targets for antibody-dependent cell-mediated cytotoxicity. Again, that's the long phrase for ADCC. But Plasmodia that live inside red blood cells are hidden and protected from the antibodies. Red blood cells are the one cell type that cannot be killed by the cytotoxic T cells. The red blood cells lack the cell surface receptors that T cell receptors need to bind to the target cell surface. Therefore, the red blood cells are a protected hiding place for parasites. Antibodies always work outside the cells. They cannot cross cell membranes. Plasmodia that live inside red blood cells are hidden and protected from the cytotoxic T cells and antibodies. Because P. falciparum mutates and changes rapidly, immunological memory does not completely protect people from multiple infections. As time goes on, infected people suffer from fewer malaria symptoms as they acquire more and more immunity to the parasite. They develop memory B and T cells that are specific for many P. falciparum antigens. Children, however, may become very ill from malaria because they do not have as much acquired immunity. In areas where malaria is common, children may become ill with many episodes of malaria. Protozoan parasites like Plasmodia have evolved many strategies to evade human immune systems. For part of their life cycle, they hide and replicate inside red blood cells, which can't be killed by the T cytotoxic cells, and we've mentioned that several times. They also release proteins that interrupt immune responses and inhibit the development of immunological memory. And then they mutate their surface antigens frequently, which keeps them one step ahead of the adaptive immune response. Malaria is a very serious disease if untreated. Progress in the fight against malaria has been difficult. The good news is that serious infections and deaths due to malaria have been decreasing due to the use of drug treatments, a vaccine, and insecticides. A drug for pregnant women, mefloquine, prevents infection of the unborn child. Other drugs treat active infections such as chloroquine, ACT, and more. A new vaccine, RTS-S, protects people from 50% of malaria infections. This level of protection greatly reduces the burden of malaria on young children. The vaccine is recommended 4 times during the first 2 years of life for best protection. The long-term effectiveness of the vaccine is not yet known, but scientific studies show it will save many lives. People can also help prevent malaria infections by controlling mosquitoes in their homes. They may sleep under insecticide-treated mosquito nets and use indoor residual spray, IRS, with insecticides once or twice per year. These methods work best when everyone in a community uses them. New drug treatments, immunization of young children, and community preventative methods are the best ways to protect against Plasmodia, the protozoa which causes malaria. And down here is another reference that you can check out for more detail.